All right, so I'll walk you through our routine that we did here a couple days ago, and a lot of these drills will you can find these or they go, you can trace these right back to the farm system. Joey Kuna, who I talk to quite often, and a lot of this is just like reciprocal movement stuff or force production and torque stuff, which I relate to. The first sport that I did was wrestling, and the second sport that I did was boxing, and then I transferred over to baseball when I was a little bit older, probably like six, I think, 6 or 7, and that's why this stuff kind of relates to me and movement. A lot of baseball people are really spinny, and a lot of baseball coaches, especially older coaches, don't really understand ground transfer of force. And so in order for your upper body to work correctly, you have to be able to use the ground properly. And so if you watch like boxers or kickboxers or fighters, how they use the ground, they're not spinning around and not spinning out. And that's why a lot of people like the teacher man guy, these like falling behind his back leg. That's not it, and it's hard to be successful like that. Now, does that work for some guys? Sure, it can be helpful depending on how they were moving before, but that's not actually how you generate force. So a lot of the stuff is you'll see, like we say, moving in a phone booth, right? We want to be tight with our movements, and getting your move off in a confined space, right? We don't want to be going lunging at the ball. We want to let the ball come into our window and contact it there, right? So these are kind of the movements that we're trying to recreate. A lot of it has to do with we want to be able to use that front arm and have everything stay behind that back leg, hold that ground. And so as we go through, you'll see these drills that we do are all kind of predicated on that. And we start out here. We took his shoes off so we could feel the ground a little bit better. We start out doing throws, just moving ballistically with direction, and trying to improve the direction every throw when we feel like we're moving well, and we have good direction. Obviously, this is going to help us use that front arm, get that front arm off of our chest, and have that good line, everything staying behind. And then obviously you can see our shoulder direction is also good in this move, and that's going to set our path for the day. So we are having good shoulder direction, getting our arm off our chest, and not yanking our hands inside. And we'll continue to go until we get the direction we want. If we're yanking too much off the ball, we'll close it back down. Like this is a good move right here. This is getting closer to the direction we want. And we want it that, like, we want to be as violent as possible with good direction. We want to be ballistic with direction, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Then we'll move our next drill. We'll move on to getting an actual one-handed bat. It's the same concept, right? We want to have the same concept, but we want to make sure that our feet are working the right direction. So we're firing down from our core down to our feet. That front foot's going to move down and forward. That back foot should move down and back. So we are moving reciprocally, basically moving against ourselves. And so we get that good turn. Now, obviously, he's leaning back way too much there. I'd probably tell him that, I'm sure. We don't want to lean away from it. We want to take that back shoulder to the ball, and in front of our hip. We want to pass our front hip. That one's a little bit better. Still a little bit of moving away from it, but it's a little bit of an improvement. Excuse me. So those are good. Then we will get rid of the boards, and then we're on the ground. We're going to do the same thing. And again, this is a lot about our direction with our body, making sure our shoulders move in the right direction, make sure we're using the ground in the right direction, making sure our path is correct, and we are moving as fast as possible while holding that line. And that is going to set us up for success. And also make sure that our arm is going to be out of our way, but still keeping us on the right path, right? So then we'll move to the short bat. So this is a two-hand short bat. It's the same weight as a regular bat, but it is, it's like 26 inches. So it's going to help us stay in posture, keep those shoulders moving in the same direction. But it allows us to hit the ball with some force. And it's all the same thing. We're trying to move as fast as possible while keeping our line. And we're going to hit that way and make sure we're staying behind and using the ground. Then we are going to get into our actual swings off machine. So we always start with no stride. And we do that just because once you start adding the stride in, it just complicates the move a little bit more. So we want to make sure first we're using the ground. We want to make sure that we are staying with the right direction, and everything is still tight. And if we're able to maintain that, then we can get into our stride. For the kids that use a stride, I have some kids that don't use a stride. Frankly, it doesn't really impact your exit velo any, but sometimes it will help with timing. As we move through here, the machine is cooking. We get it up to, like, I want to say we were going 67 from 42 feet. So reaction time simulation, that's about 98 miles an hour. And so like it was moving. The other two kids in the other cage are kids of mine, they were hitting as well. And so you can time it up no stride as well, but that's how we always start. And then we get into our actual swing. So I'll just kind of let this run through a little bit, and I'll go back through and kind of show you what our swing looks like. So when we are, I think there's another one on here. So when we are going no stride, we're looking to move that reciprocal move here. So our back leg is going to drive our front hip or our back hip forward towards the plate. And we're going to drive our front hip down and forward, or down and back away from the plate. And then everything can come through. And that front arm, if you watch, has to work across and up with our chest. We don't want to pull everything with our arms. We want to let the arm work across our chest before we do anything else. And that's kind of how we keep everything out of the way and keep all of our lines right. We don't want to start trying to pull our hands inside. We want to pull our body inside first. That's the key to keeping the path proper. We want to make sure that we are rotating around our spine and tilting around our spine, not so much just spinning our feet. Our feet should, our front foot, once it hits the ground, should hold that ground until the contact happens. Our back foot typically is going to be pulled, whether it's pulled completely off the ground and then kicks back, or just pulled up a little bit. It's kind of dependent on each individual person. Now, most of my kids are going to kick back, because we're trying to be as ballistic as possible, that kickback's going to stop their hips. We want to stop and deliver right before contact. So that's just how most of my kids hit. That's going to help us be the most powerful into contact. But it's all kind of individual as far as how you're going to do that. But that's kind of our routine. That's how we hit. Right now, that's how we're hitting. If I have any other issues, maybe we'll do a couple other things. This is a little bit more advanced for a little bit older kids. If your kid's a little bit younger, I have some other stuff that I can send you, or they're just starting to learn how to do some of this stuff as far as movements, patterns. I have some other stuff that I can send as well. But very important to hold that ground on the front side. Once that foot comes down, we're not moving forward, we're not spinning out, and we can't really generate any proper direction or any proper power without that front side holding to let that back side come through.